This island in the middle of the Eastern Mediterranean has been disputed for a very long time. It has two states, one led by Turkish Cypriots in the north and another led by Greek Cypriots in the south. But how did this island become the center of an international dispute? To understand, we need to go back in time. Cyprus was conquered by the Ottoman Empire in 1571 and was under Ottoman rule until 1878. For centuries, Cyprus was home to many Turks and Greeks. But as the Ottoman Empire started to weaken, things started to change. In 1878, following a series of agreements, Great Britain took over the provisional administration of Cyprus, but land sovereignty was still with the Ottoman Empire. In 1914, when the World War I started, Great Britain unilaterally annexed Cyprus. Türkiye recognized the British sovereignty in Cyprus in 1923 as part of the Treaty of Lausanne. Although Cyprus was under British rule, the relationship between the Greeks and Turks started to deteriorate. As their relationship soured, the Greek Orthodox Church started to campaign for enosis, or the union of Cyprus with Greece. By the mid-1950s, Greece began to support this campaign. In 1955, the campaign was led by the Archbishop of the Cyprus Orthodox Church, Makarios, and by George Grievous, a Greek Cypriot colonel who was also the head of the so-called National Organization of Cypriot Fighters. EOKA was established as an underground armed group and is recognized as a terrorist organization by Türkiye. With EOKA's involvement, the enosis campaign turned violent, as EOKA began killing Turks on the island and drove them out of villages they had lived in alongside Greeks for generations. They also killed British citizens and policemen. Despite all the damage and chaos, Turkish Cypriots refused the idea of enosis, and Greeks realized that the unification of Cyprus and Greece was not going to happen, because neither Turkish Cypriots nor the UK or the UN were in favor of it. A set of talks between the Turks and Greeks were initiated in 1959. They led to the Zurich and London agreements, through which the UK, Türkiye, Greece, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots all agreed that Cyprus would become an independent republic. The founding agreements for Cyprus included the Treaty of Establishment, which created the Republic of Cyprus, the Treaty of Alliance, which established a mutual defense pact between Cyprus, Greece and Türkiye, and the Treaty of Guarantee, which ensured the independence and territorial integrity of the guarantor states. Once the 1960 constitution was signed based on these treaties, the UK transferred land sovereignty to the two parties of the island. In return, the Republic of Cyprus was born. The UK, Greece and Türkiye were named guarantor states, and a new era began with Archbishop Makarios as Cyprus's president and Fazıl Küçük as its vice president. But this peaceful cooperation between Turkish and Greek Cypriots did not last long. In 1963, due to an armed attack by Greek Cypriots, the binational republic came to an end. After this breakaway, Turkish Cypriots began to set up their own administration that managed their own affairs. But the Greek attacks continued. Between 1963 and 1974, around 30,000 Turkish Cypriots were forced to leave Cyprus and 103 villages were completely destroyed. The violence was claiming lives even though the UN deployed peacekeeping troops to the island in 1964. But Greece simultaneously continued to deploy troops there. By 1974, 20,000 troops had been deployed to Cyprus to shore up support for enosis. On July 15, 1974, a coup took place in Cyprus. Makarios was ousted and was replaced by pro-enosis nationalist Nikos Samson, in clear violation of the 1960 Treaty of Guarantee. Britain had rejected Ankara's offer to take joint action in accordance with the treaty. So 5 days later, on July 20, Türkiye, as a guarantor state, took matters into its own hands and intervened in an effort to stop the persecution of Turkish Cypriots and the annexation of the island. But Greek Cypriots still insisted on their claims of sovereignty over the entire island. In 1983, Turkish Cypriots formed their own state, the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. With countless talks hosted by the UN, a referendum was held to reunite the island in 2004, initiated by the then UN Secretary-General Kofi Annan. 65% of Turkish Cypriots were in favor of unification, but 76% of Greek Cypriots rejected it. For years, the UN and EU have insisted that the island be home to both parties and the republic on its own. But even though the Greek Cypriots rejected the bid for unification, the EU declared them a representing entity of the whole island and accepted the Greek administration of southern Cyprus as an EU member, which Türkiye and Turkish Cypriots strongly reject. Today, renegotiation talks and efforts to bring peace to both parties continue. Türkiye and Turkish Cypriots see a two-state solution as the only and ideal way for a peace on the island, whereas Greeks and Greek Cypriots contravene international agreements. Given these continued violations, will Cyprus ever see peace and stability?